The classification station floated in the darkness of space like a metal moon. It was old, older than most species could remember. For 400,000 years, every new species that joined the galaxy had to come here first. They had to be measured. They had to be ranked. They had to know their place. Park pressed her face against the window of the transport ship and watched the massive station grow larger. She was 19 years old. She had never left Earth before last week. Now she was about to step into a place where hundreds of alien species gathered. Her heart beat fast, but she kept her face calm. "Nervous?" asked. He was 26, tall, with kind eyes. He worked as the assistant to Earth's ambassador. He had been watching over since they left Earth. "A little," admitted. "What if I do something wrong? What if I embarrass humanity?" Smiled. "You won't. Just be yourself. Answer their questions honestly. That's all anyone can do." The transport ship docked with a soft sound. The doors opened, and cold air rushed in. It smelled strange, like metal and something sweet that could not name. She followed the other members of Earth's delegation down the ramp and into the station. The first thing she noticed was how many aliens were watching them. They lined the walls of the arrival hall. Some were tall and thin, with skin like blue glass. Others were short and covered in thick fur. Some floated in the air. Some had too many eyes. All of them stared at the small group of humans with expressions that could not read. But she could guess. She saw the way some of them smiled, the way others whispered to each other. They were not impressed. An alien with gray skin and 4 arms stepped forward. His robes were white and gold, and he moved with the slow grace of someone very old and very powerful. "I am Elder," he said. His voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I welcome the species called humans to the classification station. You are the 9,723,401st species to be measured here." 9 million species felt very small. Elder led them through long corridors filled with strange lights and symbols. He explained the process as they walked. The universal scanner reads your biological potential, he said. It measures your physical strength, your mental capacity, your ability to use energy fields, and your evolutionary threat level. Every species receives a number. This number determines your place in the galactic order. What kind of numbers are we talking about? Asked Ambassador, an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. The score around 8,700, Elder said. The reach 12,400. The ancient, the oldest species still alive, hold the highest recorded score at 45,000. He paused and looked at the humans with something that might have been pity. Based on our initial observations, we expect humans to score below 500. Nobody said anything, but Saw's jaw tighten. She saw the ambassador's hands curl into fists. 500. That was nothing. That meant humanity was barely worth noticing. They entered the classification chamber. It was a huge round room with a domed ceiling covered in stars. In the center stood a platform made of black stone. Above it floated a ring of golden light. This was the scanner. Around the edges of the room, representatives from dozens of species had gathered to watch. Heard them talking in languages she did not understand. But she understood their tone. They were amused. They were bored. They expected nothing interesting from these new creatures called humans. A tall alien with silver armor stepped forward. His face was hard, and his eyes were cold. I am Commander, he said. I oversee the classification division. You will step onto the platform one at a time. The scanner will read you. You will receive your number. Do not resist the process. It is painless. One by one, the human delegates stepped forward. A scientist named Doctor went first. The golden ring glowed. Numbers appeared in the air above her head. The final score, 412. The aliens watching made sounds of amusement. A soldier named Captain O went next. He was strong, well-trained, the best Earth had to offer. His score, 531. Better, but still far below the galactic average. Ambassador scored 487. Scored 491. Each time the watching aliens grew more relaxed, more confident. Humans were exactly what they expected: weak, limited, unimportant. Finally, only remained. "Your turn," Commander said, gesturing to the platform. Walked forward. Her legs felt weak. She was not a soldier. She was not a scientist. She was a university student who had been chosen for this mission only because she scored highest on something called the Cultural Adaptation Exam. She had no special skills, no hidden powers. She was ordinary. She stepped onto the black platform. The golden ring above her began to glow. At first, nothing seemed different. Felt a slight warmth, like standing in sunlight. She waited for her number to appear. But instead the glow flickered. The ring made a strange sound like metal scraping against metal. The light changed from gold to orange, then to red. The aliens watching fell silent. The symbols floating in the air twisted and broke apart. New words formed, burning bright red against the darkness of the dome. Do not classify. Commander stepped forward, his eyes wide. What is this? Run it again. The technicians at their stations worked frantically. The scanner reset. The golden glow returned. It tried to read again. The same thing happened. Orange, red, error. Do not classify. The room erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in a dozen languages. Some pushed forward to get a closer look. Others backed away in fear. An elder raised one of his four hands, and silence fell. He walked slowly toward the platform where still stood, frozen in confusion. The old alien looked at her for a long moment. His expression was impossible to read. In 400,000 years, he said quietly, across 9 million species, the scanner has never failed to give a reading. He turned to Commander. Detain her. I want answers. Two guards grabbed his arms, shouted and tried to reach her, but more guards held him back. He called, "It's going to be okay. I'll find out what's happening," but could not answer. She could only stare at the words still burning in the air above her head. Do not classify. She did not understand. She was nobody special. She was just a girl from Earth. So why did the most powerful machine in the galaxy refuse to measure her? The guards led her away into the darkness of the station, and behind her she heard the whispers beginning. Whispers that would soon spread across the galaxy. Something was wrong with the human girl. The room was small and cold. White walls, white floor, a single bright light above. Sat on a metal chair with her hands folded in her lap. She had been here for hours. Nobody had told her anything. The door opened and Commander walked in. His silver armor caught the light. His cold eyes studied her like she was an insect under glass. Do you know why you are here?" he asked. Because the scanner could not read me," said. That is correct. Sat down across from her. In 400,000 years, the scanner has measured every type of life in this galaxy. Creatures that eat stars, beings made of pure thought, entities that exist in 11 dimensions at once. All of them received a number. He leaned forward. But not you. Why? I don't know, said honestly. I'm not special. I'm just a student. You expect me to believe that. And it's the truth. Stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood and pressed a button on the wall. A panel slid open, revealing a complex machine covered in lights and wires. "We will find out what you are hiding," he said, "one way or another." For the next several hours was subjected to every test the station had. They scanned her cells. They mapped her brain. They measured the energy patterns in her body. They looked at her DNA under machines that could see things smaller than atoms. Each time, the results came back wrong. Unquantifiable, VARIABLES, DETECTED. The threat ceiling, undefined. A classification impossible. The technicians grew frustrated. Some grew afraid, could see it in their faces. They did not understand what they were looking at. Neither did she. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, paced back and forth in the small room where the human delegation was being held. They were not prisoners exactly, but they were not free to leave either. "We have to do something," said. "They have no right to detain her like this." "They have every right," Ambassador said quietly. "We are guests here. We have no power, no allies, no leverage. So we just wait, while they do who knows what to her." The ambassador looked at him with tired eyes. "For now, yes, we wait. And we hope that whatever is happening, it ends peacefully." Wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. Earth was new to the galactic community. They had no friends here. No one would help them. He stopped packing and stood by the window. Outside, he could see other ships docked at the station. Ships from species that had traveled the stars for millions of years, while humans were still learning to make fire. What were they compared to all that? Nothing. They were nothing. But somehow, a 19-year-old girl had broken their most important machine. In the classification chamber, the scanner had been shut down for emergency repairs. Technicians crawled over it like ants on a fallen tree. Elder stood nearby, watching in silence. A commander approached him. "We have completed all standard tests," reported. "The girl shows no unusual biological markers, no enhanced genetics, no cybernetic implants, no connection to any known energy fields. By every measure we have, she is completely ordinary." And yet the scanner could not read her, Elder said. No, it could not. The old alien was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy. "Run the deep scan." Seth's eyes widened. "Elder, the deep scan hasn't been used in over 50,000 years. The power requirements alone." "I am aware. Do it anyway." Hesitated, then he bowed his head. As you command. The deep scan took 3 hours to prepare. It required more energy than most small planets used in a year. It was designed to look beyond the physical, beyond the quantum, into the very fabric of existence itself. It was brought back to the classification chamber. She looked exhausted. Dark circles had formed under her eyes, but she walked onto the platform without complaint. The scanner activated, but this time the light was different. It was not gold or red. It was white, so bright that everyone in the room had to look away. The machine hummed with terrible power. The whole station shook. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The results appeared in the air. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Commander read the words out loud, his voice shaking. Primary classification, human. Standard biological parameters within expected range. No anomalies detected at physical or quantum levels. He paused. But potential classification reads as follows: undefined. No upper limit detected. No ceiling identified. Subject displays characteristics of unlimited adaptive potential. He looked at Elder. What does this mean? The old alien did not answer. He walked slowly toward who still stood on the platform. She looked so small, so ordinary, so human. Tell me, child, Elder said quietly. What do you know about human history? I blinked. What do you mean? Your species is young. You have existed for perhaps 300,000 years. In that time, you went from living in caves to traveling between stars. You survived ice ages, mass extinctions. You crossed oceans with nothing but wood and cloth. You split the atom. You rebuilt your own bodies. You reached into space. He tilted his head. Do you know what most species do in 300,000 years? She shook her head. Nothing. They stay the same. They reach their limit and stop. Evolution takes millions of years. Change takes billions. But humans do not follow these rules. He turned to face the watching crowd. His voice rose. The scanner measures limits. It finds the ceiling of what a being can become. Every species in this galaxy has such a ceiling. Even though, with all their power, have a maximum potential that can be calculated. He pointed at, but this girl has no ceiling, no limit, no defined end point. The scanner cannot classify her because there is nothing to classify. Her potential is not fixed. It grows. It changes. It adapts. Silence filled the chamber. Then someone in the crowd spoke. An ambassador, his blue glass skin shimmering with fear. What you are describing is impossible. And yet here she stands, Elder said. A commander stepped forward. His hand rested on his weapon. If what you say is true, then humans are not just a new species. They are a threat, an undefined variable in the galactic equation. They must be contained or eliminated, the added. Felt cold fear wash through her body. She looked around the room and saw the same thought forming on face after alien face. They were not looking at her with curiosity anymore. They were looking at her with the eyes of hunters. The news spread faster than light itself. Within hours, every corner of the galaxy knew about the human girl who broke the scanner. Communication channels burned with messages. News broadcasts showed face on billions of screens. Species that had never heard of Earth suddenly knew her name. A park, the undefined. In the council chambers of the station, representatives from 100 species gathered to argue about what should be done. Their voices filled the air like thunder. Humans must be quarantined, demanded the ambassador. His glass-like body flashed with angry colors. Their home planet should be surrounded. No one in, no one out. They are too dangerous to roam free. Quarantine is not enough, said a general. He was covered in thick brown fur, and his 4 eyes burned with hatred. We have all heard what the scanner found. Unlimited potential. No ceiling. Do you understand what that means? Given enough time, humans could surpass us all. They could become gods. We must destroy them now while they are still weak. Other voices rose in agreement. Others called for calm. The argument grew louder and more violent with each passing moment. Commander stood near the door, watching. His hand never left his weapon. He had already sent secret messages to his soldiers. If the council decided on destruction, he would be ready. But Elder sat silent at the head of the table. He listened to every word. His ancient face showed nothing. When the arguments finally died down, he spoke. "You are all afraid," he said. "I understand. Fear is natural when we face something we do not understand. But fear makes us stupid, and stupidity leads to destruction. Then what do you suggest?" the demanded. "That we do nothing. That we wait for these humans to grow powerful enough to threaten us." "I suggest we learn more before we act," Elder said. "I will speak with the girl myself. Alone." The council erupted in protest. But Elder raised his hand, and silence fell. "I have guided this galaxy for 90,000 years," he said. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species burn themselves to nothing and others grow to greatness. Trust me in this. Give me time." The council had no choice but to agree. Elder was too old, too respected, too powerful to refuse. But as he left the chamber, his fate still hung by a thread. That night, guards brought to Elder's private quarters. They were not like the rest of the station. Here, there were no metal walls or cold lights. Instead, she found herself in a room filled with plants and soft colors. Water flowed somewhere nearby. The air smelled like flowers. Elder sat in a chair made of living wood. He gestured for to sit across from him. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "Thirsty?" She shook her head. She was too nervous to eat. "Then let us talk." The old alien leaned back. "Tell me about yourself, Park, not what the scanner says, not what my commanders think. Tell me who you are." Did not know what to say. She had never thought of herself as interesting. "I grew up in a small town," she said slowly. "My parents owned a restaurant. I helped them cook and clean when I was not in school. I liked to read. I was good at learning languages. That is why I was chosen for this mission. They needed someone who could adapt to new cultures quickly. And yet, you have never left your planet before. No, never. Elder nodded slowly. Do you know what I see when I look at you? She shook her head. I see a creature that should not exist. He held up one of his 4 hands. Every species in this galaxy follows rules. We are born with certain abilities. We grow to a certain point. Then we stop. Our potential is written in our cells from the moment we are created. We cannot exceed it, no matter how hard we try. He pointed at her. But humans are different. Your cells do not have limits written into them. Your brains can grow new connections at any age. Your bodies can adapt to environments that would kill most species. And most strangely of all, you can change yourselves. Your machines, your medicines, your technologies. You do not wait for evolution. You make your own. Is that bad? Asked quietly. It is terrifying, Elder said honestly, because we do not know where it ends. We cannot predict what you will become. In 1,000 years, you might still be weak, or you might be the most powerful species in the galaxy. We simply do not know. I thought about this. She thought about human history, the wars, the suffering, but also the art, the music, the discoveries, the way humans kept going even when everything seemed hopeless. We do not always use our potential well, she said. We hurt each other. We destroy things. We make mistakes. Yes, Elder agreed. But you also learn from those mistakes. You grow. You change. That is what makes you dangerous. Not your strength today, but your strength tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. He stood and walked to a window. Outside, stars burned in the endless dark. The council is afraid, he said. Many of them want you dead. They want your entire species destroyed before you can become a threat. I felt cold. Will you let them? Elder was quiet for a long moment. I have seen many species die, he said at last. Some deserved it, others did not. I have learned that destroying potential is the greatest crime there is. We do not kill children because of what they might become. We should not kill species for the same reason. He turned to face her. But I am old. My voice alone may not be enough to save you. The fear runs too deep. The council may choose destruction despite my words. I stood. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Then help me make them understand, she said. Let me speak to them. Let me show them that humans are not monsters. We are not weapons. We are just people trying to find our place in the universe like everyone else. An elder looked at her with something like respect. You are brave, he said. Foolish, perhaps, but brave. My people have always been brave, said. It is how we survived. The old alien was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. Very well. I will arrange for you to address the council. But be warned. If you fail to convince them, nothing I say will save you. They will destroy Earth and everyone on it. Nodded. She understood. Everything depended on her now. The weight of her entire species rested on the shoulders of a 19-year-old girl who had never left home before last week. It should have crushed her. It should have made her crumble. But instead she stood straight. She lifted her chin, and deep inside her something began to burn, something that had no name and no limit. Commander stood in the shadows of the station's lower levels. Around him, 50 of his best soldiers waited in silence. Their weapons were charged. Their orders were clear. The council is weak, said quietly. Elder has allowed his age to cloud his judgment. He wants to give the humans a chance to speak, to convince us that they are harmless. He shook his head. We cannot take that risk. By the time the council realizes their mistake, it will be too late. What are your orders, Commander? Asked his second in command. We eliminate the human delegation tonight, all of them. We make it look like an accident, a malfunction in their quarters, a fire, something tragic but believable. His cold eyes hardened. Then we send a message to their home world. A warning. If they ever try to leave their system again, they will be destroyed. The soldiers nodded. They had served for centuries. They trusted him completely. None of them noticed the small figure hiding in the darkness nearby. A figure that heard everything. Ran through the corridors as fast as his legs could carry him. He had been searching for information about when he stumbled upon secret meeting. Now his heart pounded with terror. He had to warn the others. He had to find. He reached the quarters where the human delegation was being held. The guards outside the door barely glanced at him as he burst through. "We have to go," he gasped. "Now they are coming to kill us." An ambassador stood up immediately. "What? Who?" "Commander, he has soldiers. They plan to make it look like an accident." Grabbed the ambassador's arm. "We have maybe 10 minutes, maybe less." The delegation moved quickly. There was no time to gather belongings, no time to think. They slipped out through a back door that had found during his explorations of the station. "Where is?" someone asked. His blood went cold. "She is with Elder. I will find her. The rest of you get to the docking bay. Find our ship. Be ready to leave." "We cannot leave you behind," the ambassador said. "You have no choice. If I am not there in 20 minutes, go. Tell Earth what happened here." Met her eyes, please. The ambassador hesitated. Then she nodded. 20 minutes, not a second more. They turned and ran in the opposite direction. He found leaving Elder's quarters. 2 guards walked beside her, but they were the old alien's guards, not. Or shouted. She looked up, surprised. "What are you?" "No time. We have to run." He grabbed her hand and pulled her away from the guards. "Is trying to kill us. The others are heading to the ship." They ran through the station's twisting corridors. Behind them, alarms began to sound. Had discovered that his targets were missing. "This way," said, pulling down a narrow maintenance tunnel. "It leads to the docking bay. We can." He stopped. At the end of the tunnel stood Commander and a dozen soldiers. Their weapons were raised. There was nowhere to run. Did you really think you could escape? Said. His voice was calm, almost bored. This is my station. I know every corridor, every tunnel, every hiding place. Pushed behind him. You do not have to do this. The council has not decided yet. The council is full of fools. Stepped forward. They do not understand the danger, but I do. And I will not let a species of undefined monsters threaten everything we have built. He raised his weapon and aimed at. Nothing personal, child. This is simply survival. His finger moved toward the trigger. And then something happened. Stepped out from behind. She did not know why. She did not plan it. It was as if something deep inside her had taken control. She looked at, really looked at him. And in that moment, she was not afraid anymore. You think you understand us, she said quietly. You think we are weak because our numbers are low. You think we are harmless because we have only been traveling the stars for a few years. She took another step forward. But you have not seen what we have survived. Ice ages that covered our world in white. Plagues that killed millions. Wars that burned our cities to ash. Every time we should have died. Every time we came back stronger. The lights in the corridor began to flicker. You call us undefined. You say our potential has no ceiling. Do you know why that scares you so much? His hand trembled. His weapon felt heavy. Wrong. Because you have reached your limit, said. All of you. Your species grew as far as they could grow, and then they stopped. But we never stop. We never accept limits. We break them. The soldiers' weapons began to malfunction. Lights sparked and died. In the walls, something hummed with building power. Did not know what she was doing. She could not explain it. But she could feel something inside her changing, growing, becoming more. The scanner, still connected to her biosignature from the deep scan, suddenly activated across the entire station. Every screen, every display, every hologram showed the same thing. SAS reading. The number climbed. 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. It did not stop. 200,000, 500,000, 1,000,000. Species across the station stopped and stared. The number kept rising. It passed every recorded measurement in galactic history. It passed theoretical limits that scientists thought could never be exceeded. And still it climbed. Dropped his weapon. His soldiers fell back in terror. They had never seen anything like this. No one had. "What are you?" whispered. Looked at him. Her eyes were the same brown they had always been. Her face was still the face of a 19-year-old girl. But something ancient and powerful burned behind that ordinary surface. "I am human," she said simply. "That is all. That is enough." The power faded. The numbers stopped climbing and disappeared. The lights returned to normal, stumbled and caught her before she fell. She was exhausted. Whatever had just happened had drained her completely. But she was alive, and so was he. Commander looked at her with different eyes now. Not with hate, not with fear, with something else entirely. Understanding. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "We cannot destroy you. We cannot contain you." He shook his head slowly. "We can only hope that when you reach your full potential, you will remember this moment. Remember that we could have killed you but chose not to." He turned to his soldiers. "Stand down. All of you, let them go." Did not wait for him to change his mind. He lifted in his arms and carried her toward the docking bay. Behind them, the station was silent, and on a billion screens across the galaxy, the last recorded number still burned in everyone's memory. A number that should have been impossible. 3 days passed. Slept for most of them. Whatever had happened in that corridor had taken everything she had. Her body needed time to recover. Her mind needed time to understand. Stayed by her side. He barely ate. He barely slept. He just sat in a chair next to her bed and watched over her, the same way he had watched over her since they left Earth. When she finally opened her eyes, he was there. Hey, he said softly, how do you feel? Thought about it. Strange, she admitted. Like I am the same person but also different. I cannot explain it. You do not have to. Handed her a glass of water. The council has been meeting non-stop since. Since what happened? Elder asked me to bring you when you woke up. They want to announce their decision. Sat up slowly. Her body ached, but she could move. What do you think they will decide? It was quiet for a moment. I do not know, but whatever happens, we face it together, all of us. The council chamber was fuller than had ever seen it. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the seats. Millions more watched through screens across the galaxy. This was the most important announcement in generations. Everyone wanted to see. The human delegation stood at the center of the chamber. Ambassador, Doctor, Captain O, and 5 ordinary humans facing a galaxy that had wanted them dead. An elder rose from his seat. The chamber fell silent. 3 days ago, something happened on this station that has never happened before, he began. A single human girl was connected to our most sacred machine. And that machine, which has measured 9 million species over 400,000 years, failed to give her a number. He paused, letting his words sink in. Many of you were afraid. Some of you called for destruction, others called for quarantine. I understand this fear. The unknown is always frightening, but fear is not wisdom, and destruction is not strength. He turned to look at. This girl showed us something we had forgotten. She showed us that potential is not something to fear. It is something to respect. Humans are young. They are weak by our standards. They have made many mistakes and will make many more. But they also have something that most of us lost long ago. Hope, he said. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today. The stubbornness to keep trying even when everything seems impossible. This is what makes them undefined. Not power, not strength, but the simple refusal to accept limits. He turned back to the council. I have lived for 90,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves and others grow beyond imagination. And in all that time, I have learned one truth above all others. The galaxy does not need more soldiers. It does not need more weapons. It needs more hope. He raised his four hands. I propose a new classification for humanity, one that has never been used before. Not a number, not a ranking, something new. The chamber held its breath. Humans will be designated as variable species, Elder announced. Their potential will not be measured because it cannot be measured. They will be granted protected observer status, free to travel and learn, but not yet full members of the galactic community. And all species will be advised to approach them with caution, not because they are dangerous, but because they are still growing, still changing, still becoming. He lowered his hands. In time, they may become the greatest species the galaxy has ever seen, or they may destroy themselves before reaching their potential. We do not know. That is the nature of variable things. But I believe they deserve the chance to find out. The council erupted in discussion. Some protested, others supported. But in the end, Elder's voice carried more weight than any other. The vote was held. The decision was made. Humanity was declared variable species. A protected, watched, but alive. After the council meeting, stood on the observation deck of the station. Through the massive windows, she could see Earth's sun in the distance. A tiny yellow dot among millions of stars. Home found her there. The ship is ready, he said. We can leave whenever you want. Did not turn around. They are afraid of us now, are they not? All of them, every species in the galaxy. Yes, admitted, they are. Is that a good thing? Thought about it. He walked to stand beside her, looking out at the same stars. I do not know, he said honestly. Fear can make people do terrible things, but it can also make them careful, respectful. Maybe both are true. Finally turned to look at him. When I was in that corridor, something happened to me. I felt everything, every possibility, every path humanity could take, good and bad, light and dark. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. What did you see? I saw that we have a choice, said quietly. We always have a choice. That is what makes us undefined. We are not locked into one future. We can become anything. But that means we have to choose carefully. Every decision matters. She looked back at the stars. I used to think I was nobody special, just an ordinary girl from an ordinary town. But now I understand. There is no such thing as ordinary humans. Every single one of us carries infinite potential. The question is what we do with it. She smiled. That sounds like something worth telling people back home. Oh, yes, agreed. It is. They walked together toward the docking bay. The rest of the delegation was waiting. Ambassador looked tired but relieved. Doctor was already writing notes about everything she had seen. Captain O stood guard, his hand resting on his weapon out of habit. As the ship lifted off and pulled away from the station, looked back one last time, she saw the massive structure growing smaller in the window. She saw the thousands of ships from hundreds of species floating nearby. All of them were watching. All of them were wondering what humanity would become. We will show them thought, not with weapons, not with power, but with everything that makes us human. Our curiosity, our compassion, our stubborn refusal to give up. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. Stars stretched into lines of light. And Park, the girl who broke the scanner, closed her eyes and smiled. Behind her, the galaxy waited. Ahead of her, the future was undefined. And for the first time in her life, that felt like exactly the right place to be. On the station, Elder stood alone in the council chamber. The others had gone. The arguments had ended. But he remained, looking at the empty space where the humans had stood. Good luck, little ones, he whispered. The galaxy will be watching. Make us proud. Then he too turned and walked away, leaving the chamber silent, but not empty. Because hope, like humans, cannot be contained. It spreads, it grows, it changes everything. And the universe would never be the same. A number that changed everything. Something very, very human. And she was the prey. Something the scanner could not explain.